The great chamber of the Galactic Council was built to impress. Its ceiling stretched so high that clouds sometimes formed near the top. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star maps and fleet positions across 100 systems. Representatives from 43 different species sat in their designated sections, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Today, they were discussing humanity. War Archon Krelvas stood at the center platform, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of confidence. His scales gleamed under the chamber's lights, deep purple and black, marking him as a high-ranking member of the Zaltharian Covenant. Behind him, massive displays showed the Covenant's recent victories. System after system had fallen to their fleets over the past 3 years. "The humans have made their choice," Krelvas announced, his voice carrying easily through the chamber. 2 years ago, we offered them a simple option: join our covenant and prosper, or refuse and face the consequences. They chose to refuse. A murmur ran through the assembled representatives. Everyone remembered that day. The human ambassador, a stern woman with gray hair, had stood exactly where Krelvas now stood. She had listened to the ultimatum with a calm face. Then she had said one word: no. The next day, every human ship had withdrawn from galactic space. Every human colony had gone silent. Every transmission from human territory had simply stopped. That was 2 years ago. "We must assume the humans have been destroyed or surrendered," said Council Speaker Vorn, a being made of crystalline structures that chimed softly when it moved. "No species can survive total isolation. They need trade, resources, technology sharing." Krelvas nodded in agreement. "Exactly. The humans were newcomers to our galactic community. They had only been spacefaring for 50 years. Their technology was adequate, but nothing special. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were outdated by our standards." He gestured to one of the displays. They controlled only 12 systems. Small colonies, mining operations, research stations. Nothing that could sustain an independent civilization for long. Ambassador Threelick from the Feronian Republic raised a tentacle. She was one of the few who had traded regularly with humans before the silence. "War Archon, have your scouts actually entered human territory? Has anyone confirmed what happened to them?" "We have sent probe ships," Krelvas replied. "They detected nothing. No ship movements, no communications, no energy signatures beyond basic planetary maintenance. The humans have either fled their space entirely or—" He paused for effect. "They are hiding in fear, hoping we will forget about them." "And will you?" Threelick asked quietly. Krelvas' mouthparts curved into what might have been a smile. "No, the Covenant does not leave loose ends. I have ordered the 7th Fleet to sweep through human territory. They will claim any useful worlds and report on what became of the humans. If any resist, they will be dealt with accordingly." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some representatives nodded in approval. Others looked uncomfortable. A few, like Threelick, remained silent, their expressions unreadable. "Is this wise?" asked Representative Jolmer, a being covered in fur that changed colors with emotion. Currently, it showed streaks of yellow concern. The humans were peaceful traders. They never threatened anyone. This action seems excessive. "They refused the Covenant," Krelvas said coldly. "That alone is threat enough. Besides, do you really think a species that still uses chemical propulsion for their colony ships could pose any danger?" He laughed, a harsh clicking sound. "They are primitive mammals playing with stolen technology. Nothing more." In the observation gallery high above the main chamber, other beings watched the proceedings. These were not representatives, but visitors, journalists, and scholars. Among them stood a figure in a dark gray suit, human in appearance. They had not spoken throughout the entire session. They simply watched and listened, recording everything on a small device. When Krelvas finished speaking, this figure turned and left the gallery quietly. No one noticed. No one ever noticed them. 3 days later, the Covenant 7th Fleet gathered at the edge of the Sol Exclusion Zone. It was an impressive force 300 warships of various sizes, from nimble frigates to massive dreadnoughts. Fleet Commander Thexrin, a career officer who had served the Covenant for 30 years, reviewed the battle plan one final time. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Thexrin studied the star map before him. Human space looked empty on the display. 12 systems with no activity, no defenses, nothing. Just silent planets orbiting their stars. "It seems wrong," he said quietly. "Sir?" His tactical officer asked. All of this. Thexrin gestured at the map. "Species don't just vanish. Even if they surrendered, there should be something. Distress signals. Refugee ships. Attempts at negotiation. But there's nothing. Just silence. Perhaps they evacuated, sir. Fled to unknown space. Perhaps." But Thexrin didn't believe it. He had fought many battles, conquered many systems. He knew what defeat looked like. This wasn't defeat. This was something else, but orders were orders. "All ships," he commanded. "Begin the advance. Standard sweep formation. Scanners at maximum range. We will investigate each system thoroughly before moving to the next." The fleet jumped to faster than light speed. Space twisted around them as they crossed into what had been human territory. The journey to the first colony world would take 6 hours. Those 6 hours passed in tense silence. Officers checked and rechecked their weapon systems. Pilots ran simulations. Marines prepared boarding equipment. Everyone expected resistance, despite what the War Archon had said. You didn't survive 30 years in the Covenant military by underestimating enemies. They emerged from FTL at the edge of the Epsilon Eridani system. Immediately, every scanner went active, searching for threats. "Contact?" Thexrin asked. "Nothing, sir. No ships, no stations broadcasting, no weapon signatures. Planetary scans. The colony is there. Population centers are intact. Power grids are running, but no communications, no ship movements. It's like everyone just left." Thexrin felt a chill run down his spine. "Take us in, slowly, keep weapons hot." The fleet moved deeper into the system, passing empty orbital platforms and silent defense satellites. The colony world grew larger on their screens. Cities were visible on the surface, lights still burning in the night, but no ships rose to meet them. No challenges came over the communications channels. "This is wrong," Thexrin muttered. "This is very wrong, sir. Sensors are detecting something." "What?" The tactical officer's voice shook slightly. "Unknown contact. Outer system, beyond the asteroid belt." "It's big, sir." "Very big. How big?" "At least 8 kilometers long." 8 kilometers. That was larger than their biggest dreadnoughts. Thexrin stood up from his command chair. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, zooming out to show the entire system. There, marked in red, was a massive contact signature. It wasn't moving. It was just sitting there in the dark between planets. "Identification?" "None, sir. It's not broadcasting anything. In fact, our scanners are having trouble getting a clear reading. It's almost like it's absorbing our sensor beams. Visual?" "Working on it, sir. Enhancing image now." The display flickered. Then it showed them a ship. Black as space itself, angular and sharp like a blade. Weapon ports covered its hull, hundreds of them. It hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. As they watched, it moved, not slowly as something that large should move. Fast, impossibly fast, and it was coming straight toward them. "Battle stations!" Thexrin shouted. "All ships evasive action. Prepare to..." A voice cut through every communication channel in the fleet. It was human, female. "Come, you should not have come here." Then the black ship opened fire. The first shots from the black ship moved faster than anything Thexrin had ever seen. Brilliant blue-white streaks of light crossed the distance between them in seconds. They weren't lasers or plasma bolts. They were solid projectiles moving at a fraction of light speed. Superheated by their own velocity, 3 Covenant frigates exploded before they could even raise their shields. "Return fire." "All batteries." Thexrin screamed. "Get me a damage assessment." Around him, his command crew worked frantically. Dozens of ships opened fire at once, launching missiles and energy beams toward the black ship. Surely, concentrated fire from an entire fleet would at least slow it down. The black ship didn't even try to dodge. It simply turned slightly, and the missiles exploded harmlessly against some kind of barrier field. The energy beams scattered across its hull, absorbed by armor that shouldn't exist. No known alloy could withstand that much firepower without at least showing scorch marks. The human ship fired again. More railgun rounds, moving so fast they were barely visible. A Covenant destroyer took a hit directly to its engine section and broke in half. Another shot pierced a cruiser from bow to stern, and the ship simply came apart like it was made of paper. "Shields holding at 60%, sir," someone reported. "Tell all ships to scatter. Don't cluster together. Make yourselves harder targets." But the fleet was too slow. They had been trained to fight enemies with similar technology. Ships that moved at predictable speeds, that followed predictable tactics. This wasn't predictable. This was chaos. The black ship accelerated again, passing through the Covenant formation like a shark through fish. As it moved, it fired from multiple weapon ports simultaneously. Each shot found a target. Each target died. "What's our weapon status?" Vexrin demanded. "We've landed some hits, sir, but their shields are still at full strength. Our weapons aren't penetrating." "That's impossible. We're using military-grade plasma cannons." "I know, sir. But look at the readings. Their shield frequency is cycling faster than we can adapt. It's like they know exactly when we're going to fire." Vexrin stared at the tactical display in horror. In just 4 minutes of combat, they had lost 47 ships. The black ship showed no damage at all. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission. From the human ship?" "Yes, sir." "Audio only. Put it through." The voice from before filled the command deck. Calm, professional, utterly without emotion. "Covenant vessels, you have entered United Nations protected space without authorization. You have 15 seconds to begin FTL jump calculations. Any ship remaining in this system after that time will be destroyed." Vexrin felt rage and shame war within him. He had served the Covenant for 30 years. He had conquered 12 systems. He had never retreated from battle. Another explosion shook the fleet. The dreadnought Pride of Zalth was venting atmosphere and spinning out of control. 14 ships down, sir?" "No, make that 17. "Sir, we have to retreat." "We can't. The War Archon we'll all be dead in 10 minutes if we stay." Vexrin looked at the display again. The black ship was turning for another pass. It moved with such precision, such deadly grace. This wasn't a battle. This was an execution. "All ships," he said, his voice heavy with defeat. "Emergency jump to rally point Theta, now." "Sir, some ships need more time to—" "Now." The fleet scattered into FTL, leaving their damaged and disabled vessels behind. As Vexrin's flagship jumped to safety, the last thing he saw was the black ship hovering among the debris of what had been the 7th Fleet's Pride, silent, waiting like it had all the time in the world. When they emerged at the rally point, Vexrin ordered an immediate count. Of the 300 ships that had entered the Epsilon Eridani system, only 181 had escaped. 119 ships destroyed or disabled in just 11 minutes, the fastest defeat in Covenant military history. Vexrin sat in his command chair, staring at nothing. Around him, his crew worked in shocked silence. No one knew what to say. "How did you explain this? How did you tell the War Archon that a single human ship had destroyed nearly half the fleet?" "Get me a secure channel to Covenant High Command," he finally said. The communication took 20 minutes to establish. When War Archon Krelvas appeared on the screen, his face showed irritation, not concern. "Fleet Commander Vexrin, I expected your first report to be about successful occupation of human worlds, not a request for emergency communications." "War Archon, we were attacked. The 7th Fleet has taken severe casualties." The irritation turned to anger. "Casualties from whom?" "The humans were supposed to be defenseless." They have a warship, War Archon. A single ship. It destroyed more than 100 of our vessels in minutes. Silence. Then Krelvas laughed. It was a harsh, disbelieving sound. That's impossible. Human technology is decades behind ours. One ship cannot. I watched it happen, War Archon. Vexrin shouted, forgetting protocol. I watched their weapons tear through our shields like they weren't there. Their ship moves faster than anything we have. They knew exactly where to hit us, exactly how to counter our tactics. You're telling me that a single human ship defeated 300 Covenant warships? Do you understand how that sounds? I understand how it sounds. I also understand what I saw. War Archon, wherever the humans went for the past 2 years, they weren't hiding. They were building. And what they built is beyond anything we've seen before. Krelvas' expression had changed now. The anger was still there, but something else joined it. Something that might have been fear. Send me all sensor data immediately. I will analyze this and determine our response. War Archon, I strongly recommend we do not engage human forces again until we understand what we're facing. Your recommendation is noted, Fleet Commander. I will make the strategic decisions. Krelvas out. The communication ended. Vexrin sat back in his chair and closed his eyes. He knew what would happen next. The War Archon would dismiss his warnings. He would send more ships. He would believe that overwhelming numbers would win the day, but Vexrin had seen that black ship move. He had seen its weapons fire. He had seen the cold, calculated efficiency with which it killed. Numbers wouldn't matter against that. 3 days later, back in the Galactic Council chambers, emergency sessions were called. News of the 7th Fleet's defeat had spread quickly despite the Covenant's attempts to suppress it. Representatives demanded answers. Journalists shouted questions. The orderly proceedings of the Council had dissolved into chaos. Ambassador Threelick watched it all with her large, dark eyes. She had tried to warn them. She had told them the humans were not to be underestimated. No one had listened. The humans had been quiet for 2 years. The galaxy had assumed silence meant weakness. But Threelick had traded with humans. She had talked with their merchants and scientists. She remembered something one of them had told her. We are slow to anger, the human had said. But when we finally act, we act completely. She had not understood what that meant at the time. Now she did. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, the black ship moved. It did not return to human space. It did not wait for the Covenant to attack again. Instead, it jumped to a system marked on the star maps as Velenfor, a minor Covenant supply depot. By the time the depot realized they were under attack, it was already over. The supply ships were destroyed. The orbital stations were reduced to debris. The black ship stayed just long enough to broadcast a message on all frequencies. This is the USS Blackstar of the United Nations Strategic Command. The Covenant brought war to our worlds. Now we bring war to yours. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will only be fire. Then it jumped away, leaving only wreckage and terror behind. War had truly begun, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans were capable of when they stopped being civilized. The command center of the USS Blackstar was nothing like a traditional ship's bridge. Instead of windows showing the stars, there were holographic displays covering every surface. Data streams flowed like rivers of light, showing ship status, enemy positions, weapons readiness, and 1,000 other details. At the center of it all sat Admiral Victoria Chun. She was 53 years old, with short black hair showing streaks of gray and eyes that had seen too much. Before the Covenant's ultimatum, she had been a captain of an exploration vessel, mapping distant systems and making peaceful contact with new species. That felt like a lifetime ago. Prometheus status report, she said. A voice responded, neither male nor female, perfectly modulated. All systems optimal, Admiral. Hellfire array charged to 80%. Railgun batteries loaded. Stealth systems engaged. We are currently undetectable to Covenant sensors. Prometheus was the Blackstar's artificial intelligence. Not just a computer program, but a true thinking entity. the first of its kind. During the 2 years of silence, humanity had made breakthroughs that would have taken decades under normal circumstances. Fear was an excellent motivator. Show me the tactical situation. The main display shifted, showing a three-dimensional map of the surrounding systems. Covenant territories glowed red like infected wounds spreading across the galaxy. Human space, now recovered and reinforced, showed as blue. And there, scattered throughout Covenant territory, were small green markers. 18 supply convoys destroyed in the last week, Prometheus reported. 22 mining operations disabled. 7 military outposts eliminated. Covenant logistical capabilities have been reduced by 41% in our operating theater. Chun nodded. This was the strategy. The Covenant had numbers and territory. Humanity had technology and surprise. They couldn't win a straight fight, not yet. But they could cut the supply lines. They could strike where the enemy was weak. They could make every star system a potential battlefield. Any response from Covenant High Command? War Archon Krelvas has mobilized 3 full armadas. Intelligence suggests he intends to divide them and sweep multiple systems simultaneously, hoping to find us. He's hunting us. Correct. However, his strategy has a flaw. By dividing his forces, he makes each fleet vulnerable to concentrated attack. Chun smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Then let's give him what he's looking for. Calculate jump coordinates for the Karth system. I want to arrive before his second armada does. Coordinates calculated. Jump in 3 minutes. Chun stood and walked to the holographic display. With a gesture, she pulled up images of the Covenant worlds they had already hit. She didn't enjoy destruction. Every exploding ship, every burning station, every life lost weighed on her conscience. But she remembered something else more clearly. She remembered the Covenant's first attack on humanity. Not the ultimatum, but the attack that came before negotiations even began. A human research station at the edge of explored space. 60 scientists studying a nebula. The Covenant had destroyed it without warning, without provocation. Just to show they could, Victoria's sister had been one of those 60 scientists. Admiral. We have incoming communication. Source? It's marked as high-priority council transmission. Ambassador Threelick is requesting to speak with you. Chun raised an eyebrow. Threelick was one of the few aliens who had shown humanity respect. Put her through. The holographic display showed the Feronian ambassador. She looked tired. Admiral Chun, I hope this message finds you well. Ambassador, I'm surprised you were able to find this frequency. Your government provided it to me years ago for emergencies. I believe this qualifies. Threelick's tentacles moved in a gesture of concern. Admiral, the galaxy is in chaos. The Covenant is mobilizing everything they have. Other species are choosing sides. There are calls for the Council to formally declare you terrorists. And are we? Terrorists? No, you are fighting a war you did not start. But Admiral, there are those who fear you now more than they fear the Covenant. Your ship, your weapons, your tactics? They don't understand how humans achieve such advancement so quickly. Chun laughed bitterly. It's simple, Ambassador. We had 2 years and one goal, survival. We took every scientist, every engineer, every resource we had and focused them on one question: how do we fight back? Turns out humans are very good at solving problems when our existence depends on it. What will you do now? Win the war. Make sure the Covenant can never threaten anyone again. And after that? What happens when you're the strongest military power in the galaxy? Chun was quiet for a moment. It was a fair question. I don't know, Ambassador. But I promise you this. Humanity did not want this war. We wanted to explore, to learn, to be part of the galactic community. The Covenant took that choice away. We will take it back. I hope you're right, Admiral. But please, be careful. Power has a way of changing people. The communication ended. Chun stood in silence, thinking about the ambassador's words. Then she pushed the thoughts aside. There would be time for philosophy after the war. Right now there was work to do. Jump complete, Prometheus announced. We have arrived in the Karth system. The displays showed a busy industrial system. 3 planets, dozens of stations, hundreds of ships. All Covenant. All targets. Time until the Covenant Armada arrives? 16 hours. Good, that gives us time to prepare. Prometheus, I want targeting solutions for every military asset in this system. Prioritize shipyards and repair stations. We need to make sure they can't reinforce their fleets. Acknowledged. Admiral, I should note that this system has significant civilian population. Estimates suggest 3 million non-combatants. I'm aware. We'll target military only. Broadcast evacuation warnings before we strike. Give them time to get to shelters. That will reduce our tactical advantage. I don't care. We're not murderers, Prometheus. We're soldiers. There's a difference. The AI was silent for a moment, processing. Understood, Admiral. For the next 12 hours. The Blackstar moved through the Karth system like a ghost. Silent, invisible, watching, Prometheus calculated firing solutions. Analyzed shield frequencies, mapped escape routes. Everything had to be perfect. When the Covenant Armada arrived, they found a system on full alert. Someone had leaked information about a possible human attack. Every ship was armed and ready. Defense platforms were online. Fighter squadrons patrolled the space lanes. War Archon Krelvas himself commanded this fleet from his flagship, the Divine Retribution. He stood on his command deck, surrounded by his finest officers. 2 massive dreadnoughts flanked his ship, the Eternal Glory and the Blade of Zalf. Each was 3 kilometers long. Bristling with weapons, carrying thousands of soldiers. The humans will come, Krelvas announced. Their single ship has made them arrogant. When they arrive, we will be ready. This time they will not escape. War Archon, what if they don't attack? Asked his tactical officer. What if they're at a different system? Then we will hunt them there. But they will come. I know their kind now. They cannot resist a target this valuable. He was right. The Blackstar appeared without warning, dropping out of stealth less than 1,000 kilometers from the Divine Retribution. Alarms shrieked across every Covenant ship. Weapons trained on the black ship immediately. Fire! All ships, fire now! Krelva screamed. 1,000 weapons fired at once. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, kinetic missiles, everything the Covenant had. The space around the Blackstar turned into a storm of destruction. When the weapons fire cleared, the Blackstar hung in space, completely undamaged. Its shields hadn't even flickered. Impossible, Krelvas whispered. Then the Blackstar's main weapon activated. The Hellfire array along the ship's spine, ports opened. Energy built up, visible as a blue-white glow that grew brighter and brighter. Then it released, not as a beam or a bolt, as a wave. A cascade of focused plasma that expanded outward in a cone, washing over everything in its path. The temperature was measured in millions of degrees. Nothing could survive it, nothing. The Eternal Glory was caught first. Its shields held for exactly 2 seconds. Then they failed. The plasma wave touched the dreadnought's hull, and 3 kilometers of advanced military spacecraft simply ceased to exist. Melted, vaporized, gone. The Blade of Zalf tried to evade. Too slow. The wave caught its stern section and the mighty ship broke apart, secondary explosions tearing through its interior. 20 seconds. 2 dreadnoughts, destroyed. Silence fell across the Covenant fleet. Every ship seemed frozen in shock. Admiral Chun's voice carried across every communication channel. Covenant forces, this is your only warning. Surrender now, or share the fate of your dreadnoughts. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, one by one, Covenant ships began powering down their weapons. War Archon Krelvas stared at the tactical display, at the icons of his destroyed dreadnoughts, at the black ship that hung in space like a judge pronouncing sentence. And for the first time in his long military career, he felt true fear. The humans hadn't just built a weapon. They had built absolute power, and they were only beginning. The throne world of Zalf was a sight to behold. 3 moons orbited the planet, each carved with monuments to Covenant victories. Orbital rings circled the world, home to billions. The capital city stretched across an entire continent, its towers reaching toward the sky like fingers grasping for the stars. War Archon. Krelva stood in the Strategic Command Center, watching holographic displays show the war's progression. It was not going well. In 4 months, the Covenant had lost more territory than they had gained in 3 years of conquest. Human ships seemed to be everywhere at once. Not just the Blackstar, but dozens of others, cruisers, destroyers, carriers launching fighter craft that moved faster than Covenant pilots could track. Another outpost lost. War Archon, reported General Vexenar. The humans hit 3 supply convoys yesterday. Our forces in the Outer Rim are running low on ammunition and fuel. Krelva slammed one of his 4 fists on the console. How? How can one species do this? We have thousands of ships. We have conquered 40 systems. The humans don't fight like we do, War Archon. They don't hold territory. They don't occupy worlds. They strike, destroy, and vanish. By the time we respond, they're gone. Then we change tactics. Pull back all our forces. Fortify our core systems. Make it impossible for them to attack. War Archon, if we abandon the outer territories, the species we conquered will rebel. We'll lose everything we fought for. Better to lose territory than lose the war. Krelva's turned to face his staff. Order all fleets to withdraw to defensive positions around our primary worlds. Zalthkrever, Vexen. We turn these systems into fortresses. Let the humans come to us. Over the next 2 weeks, the Covenant pulled back. Hundreds of ships withdrew from occupied territories and took up positions around the homeworld. Defense platforms were built. Minefields were deployed. Fighter squadrons ran constant patrols. Zalth had never been better defended. Krelva stood on an observation platform, looking up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, the humans were planning their next move. He knew they would come for Zalth eventually. This was where the Covenant began. If Zalth fell, the Empire would fall with it. Let them come, he muttered. We are ready. Far from Zalth, in a secure military facility orbiting Earth, Admiral Chun attended a meeting of the United Nations Strategic Command. Around the holographic table sat the leaders of humanity's military forces. Generals, admirals, intelligence directors, all of them looked tired. War was exhausting, even when you were winning. The Covenant has consolidated around their core systems, said General Martinez, head of military intelligence. Zalth is particularly well defended. 300 warships, 50 orbital defense platforms, planetary shields. It would cost us heavily to attack directly. Then we don't attack directly, Chun said. Everyone turned to look at her. Admiral. I'm not sure I understand, said Admiral O'Brien, commander of the Pacific Fleet. Zalth is the capital. If we don't take it, the war will drag on for years. We'll take it, Chun assured him. But not by throwing our people against their defenses. We're going to do what humans do best. We're going to think our way around the problem. She gestured, and the holographic display changed to show Zalth's star system. This is a K-class star. Stable, predictable. Zalth orbits in the habitable zone, perfect conditions for life, but she highlighted an area near the star's surface. Prometheus has been studying their star for months. There are instabilities in the corona. Small ones, nothing that would naturally cause problems. But if we applied the right kind of energy at the right frequency, ... double quotes understanding dawned on several faces around the table. You want to weaponize their sun? General Martinez said quietly. Not permanently, just enough to create a solar storm. A big one. It will blind their sensors, disrupt their communications, and give us the opening we need. Admiral, that's incredibly dangerous, O'Brien objected. If we miscalculate, we could damage the star permanently. Maybe even cause it to go nova. I know the risks. Prometheus has run the calculations 10,000 times. The probability of catastrophic failure is less than 1%. 1. Percent is still too high when you're talking about a star. And what's the probability of losing? Thousands of our people in a frontal assault? 50%? 60? Shun's voice was hard. We're at war, Admiral. Every option carries risk. I'm choosing the one that gives us the best chance of winning while losing the fewest lives. The room fell silent. Finally, Fleet Admiral Jackson, the highest-ranking officer present, spoke. How long until you can implement this plan? The Blackstar is already in position. We've been quietly placing stellar manipulation devices near the sun for the past week. On your order, we can begin. Jackson looked around the table, reading the faces of his officers. Some showed doubt. Others showed grim acceptance. War made everyone into philosophers, weighing lives against lives, choosing between bad options and worse ones. You have authorization, Admiral Chun, but if it goes wrong, I'll take full responsibility. I was going to say, if it goes wrong, we'll probably all be dead anyway. Jackson managed a thin smile. Good luck, Victoria. Bring our people home. 20 hours later, the Blackstar floated in the darkness near Zalth's star. Around it, invisible to Covenant sensors, were 12 devices. Each was no larger than a shuttle, but packed with technology that would have seemed like magic a few years ago. Devices are in position, Prometheus reported. Ready to begin sequence on your command. Chun sat in her command chair, surrounded by her crew. She knew most of their names now. They had been through so much together. Lieutenant Sarah Kim on tactical, Commander James Park on navigation, Dr. Rachel Foster overseeing the science station. All of them volunteers. All of them with their own reasons for being here. This is it, Chun said quietly. Once we start, there's no going back. If anyone has concerns, speak now. No one spoke. They had made their choices long ago. Prometheus, begin the sequence. The devices activated simultaneously. They didn't create much energy themselves. They didn't need to. Instead, they focused and amplified energy that was already there, deep in the star's corona. Magnetic fields twisted. Plasma currents that had flowed smoothly for millions of years suddenly found resistance. Like pressure building in a pipe, something had to give. The star's surface erupted. Massive solar flares burst outward, larger than anything seen in the star's recorded history. Clouds of charged particles raced through the system at a fraction of light speed. Electromagnetic radiation across every spectrum washed over Zalth and its orbital infrastructure. Every sensor went blind. Every communication system turned to static. Defense platforms spun uselessly, unable to see or coordinate. The mighty fortress that Krelvas had built became a collection of isolated, confused ships and stations. And through the chaos came the human fleet. Not just the Blackstar now. 30 ships emerged from stealth, appearing all across the system. They had been there for days, waiting in silence. Now they struck with precision and overwhelming force. Covenant ships tried to respond, but they were blind and deaf. They fired wildly, hitting each other as often as human vessels. The humans, guided by their advanced computers and quantum communication networks, moved like a single organism. Every shot calculated, every movement coordinated. It was like watching a surgeon work precise, efficient, deadly. Chun watched from the Blackstar as her fleet dismantled Zalth's defenses. She felt no joy in it, only grim necessity. Admiral, Covenant flagship is attempting to flee, Lieutenant Kim reported. The Divine Retribution? Confirmed. War Archon Krelvas is aboard. Chun considered for a moment. She could let him go. Let him spread word of the defeat. But war had to end somewhere. Disable their engines? I want him alive. The Blackstar accelerated, moving through the battle with casual ease. Its weapons spoke once, twice, 3 times. The Divine Retribution's engines exploded. The massive ship tumbled through space, crippled but intact. Send boarding teams? Bring me the War Archon. 2 hours later, Krelvas was brought to the Blackstar's bridge in restraints. He had fought, they told her. killed 2 Marines before being stunned. Chun respected that. At least he had faced defeat with courage. She looked at him now, this being who had started a war that killed millions. He looked back with hatred in his eyes. "You have won," Krelva said. "But at what cost?" "You have become monsters." "No," Chun said quietly. "We became soldiers." "There's a difference. You taught us that difference when you destroyed our research station. When you gave us the choice to join or die. When you decided that peace wasn't profitable enough. What will you do now? Destroy Zalth? Kill billions in revenge?" "No." Chun stood and walked to the window, looking down at the planet below. "We're going to accept their surrender. Rebuild what was broken. Make sure this never happens again." "You think you can control the galaxy with fear?" "We don't want to control anything. We just want to be left alone. And we want to make absolutely certain that no one ever gives us an ultimatum again." She turned back to him. "You're going to help with that. You're going to testify before the Galactic Council. You're going to explain why you started this war. And you're going to tell them what happens to those who think humans are easy prey." Krelvas laughed bitterly. "You think the galaxy will thank you for this? You've become the very thing you fought against. Maybe we've just shown the universe the Galactic Council chambers had never been so crowded. Every species in known space had sent representatives. Some came to witness justice. Others came to assess the new power that had emerged. All of them came to see if the galaxy had simply traded one tyrant for another." Admiral Victoria Chun stood at the center platform, the same spot where War Archon Krelvas had stood a year ago, boasting about Covenant victories. Behind her, visible through the massive windows, the USS Blackstar hung in orbit, silent, watchful, a reminder of what humanity had become. "Members of the Council," Chun began, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. 8 months ago, the Zalthirian Covenant invaded human space. They believed we were weak. They believed our technology was primitive. They believed we would be easy to conquer. She paused, letting her words settle. They were wrong. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some species shifted uncomfortably. The Blackstar's reputation had spread far and wide. The war is over. The Covenant has surrendered. Their military has been dismantled. Their government has been dissolved. The systems they conquered have been liberated. But before we discuss the future, you need to understand the past. Chun gestured, and holographic displays activated throughout the chamber. They showed images of the destroyed research station where her sister had died, images of Covenant forces attacking civilian targets, images of enslaved populations on conquered worlds. "This is what the Covenant did," Chun continued. "Not just to humanity, but to dozens of species. They called it expansion. They called it bringing civilization. But it was just conquest. Just cruelty dressed up in noble words." She pressed another control. The displays changed, showing battle footage. The 7th Fleet being destroyed. The Karth system battle. The final assault on Zalth. And this is what we did. We fought back. We used every advantage we had: superior technology, better tactics, and yes, fear. We made the Covenant understand that humanity was not prey. Council Speaker Vorn, the crystalline being who had dismissed humanity a year ago, chimed softly. "Admiral Chun, no one questions that the Covenant needed to be stopped. But now the galaxy faces a new concern. You have demonstrated military superiority that no single species has possessed in recorded history. What assurance can you give us that humanity will not become the next Covenant?" It was the question everyone wanted answered. The chamber fell silent, waiting. Chun took a breath. "I can't give you absolute assurance. I can only give you our word and our actions. Let me show you something." She gestured again. The displays changed to show a document. It was written in multiple languages, readable by every species present. "This is the Blackstar Accords, a treaty we are proposing to the Galactic Council. It has 3 main principles. First, any attack on one signatory species is considered an attack on all. Mutual defense? Second, no signatory may initiate aggressive warfare against another species, within or outside the agreement. Peace through commitment. Third, all signatories agree to share defensive technology and coordinate against external threats. Security through cooperation. Ambassador Threelick raised a tentacle. Admiral, this treaty effectively makes humanity the protector of any species that signs it. Given your military advantage, doesn't that give you enormous power over galactic affairs? Yes, Chun admitted. It does. And I understand why that's concerning. So let me be absolutely clear about something. Humanity didn't want this war. We didn't ask to build weapons that could destroy fleets. We did it because we had no choice. Given the option between advancing military technology or being conquered, we chose survival. She looked around the chamber, meeting eyes with as many representatives as she could. But we remember what we wanted before the war. We wanted to explore, to learn, to be part of something larger than ourselves. We want that again. The Blackstar Accords are designed to create a galaxy where disputes are resolved through negotiation, not warfare. Where species can develop without fear of conquest. Where what happened to us never happens to anyone else. And if species refuse to sign? Asked Representative Jolmer, the color-changing being who had questioned the invasion of human space. Then they don't sign. We're not the Covenant. We won't force anyone to join. But those who do sign will have our protection and our support. Krelvaz was brought forward then, still in restraints but allowed to speak. He looked diminished somehow, his scales dull, his movements defeated. I have been asked to testify, he said, his voice bitter. So I underestimated humanity. I believed that technology determined victory. I was wrong? The humans won because they understood something the Covenant forgot, that desperation makes people creative. Fear makes them determined. And protecting their homes makes them unstoppable. He looked at Chun. I hate you, Admiral. I hate what you've done to my people. But I cannot deny that we brought this upon ourselves. The Covenant chose war. You simply chose to win it. The testimony continued for hours. Survivors from liberated worlds told stories of Covenant occupation and human liberation. Military analysts presented data on battle tactics and weapons technology. Philosophers and ethicists debated the morality of overwhelming response. Finally, Council Speaker Vorn called for a vote on the Blackstar Accords. One by one, species announced their decision. Some signed immediately, grateful for protection. Others hesitated but eventually agreed. A few refused, declaring they would remain neutral and independent. When the voting was complete, 37 of the 43 Council species had signed the Accords. It wasn't unanimous, but it was a majority. Chun felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 1 year later, Earth orbit was crowded with ships. Not warships this time, but vessels from dozens of species. Scientists, traders, diplomats, tourists, the isolation had ended. Humanity had rejoined the galactic community, not as supplicants or conquerors, but as equals. The USS Blackstar had been officially decommissioned. It now hung in orbit, converted into a museum and memorial. Visitors walked its corridors, seeing the command center where Admiral Chun had made her decisions. They viewed the Hellfire Array, now permanently disabled. They read the names of the 347 humans who had died during the war on the dedication plaque. Visible to everyone who entered were words that Chun herself had written. Humanity did not seek war. But when war came, we ensured it would never come again. This ship stands as a reminder not of our strength, but of the price of peace. May those who see it remember that violence should always be the last resort, never the first. Chun herself had retired from military service. She now served as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council. It was strange, addressing the same chamber where she had once presented battle plans. But it felt right. The warrior becoming the diplomat. The destroyer becoming the builder. She stood in her quarters one evening, looking at a photo of her sister. The one who had died on that research station so long ago. The one whose death had started everything. We did it, Chun whispered. We made them pay. But more importantly, we made sure it won't happen again. I hope that's enough. Her communicator chimed. A message from the council. Another minor dispute that needed mediation. Another chance to solve problems with words instead of weapons. Chun smiled and went to work not far from Earth. In a classified facility that officially didn't exist, engineers and scientists worked in shifts around the clock. They were building something new. Not a weapon this time, but something else. Something that would take humanity to the stars in ways they had only dreamed about. Project Supernova, they called it. A faster-than-light engine that didn't just move through space but folded it. The ability to cross the galaxy in days instead of months. The lead engineer, a young woman named Sarah, no relation to the Admiral, stood watching the prototype take shape. It was beautiful in its own way. All curves and energy fields humming with potential. Will it work? Asked her assistant. Eventually, Sarah said. The math says it should. We just need to solve about 1,000 engineering problems first. Why are we building it? The war's over. We won. Sarah looked at the prototype thoughtfully. That's exactly why we're building it. We won because we had better technology. If we stop advancing, someone else will catch up. And then what happened to us might happen to someone else. We need to stay ahead. Not to conquer. Just to protect. That's a lot of responsibility. Yes, Sarah agreed. But someone has to carry it. Might as well be us. She turned back to the prototype. There was so much work to do. So many challenges ahead. But that was okay. Humans were good at solving problems. They had proven that across the galaxy, on 40 different worlds, young beings looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Some dreamed of exploration. Others dreamed of discovery. A few dreamed of conquest, but they kept those dreams quiet now. The Blackstar had taught the galaxy a lesson about underestimating others. On Zalf, in a small dwelling far from the ruined capital, an old soldier sat on his porch and watched the sunset. Krelvaz had been released after serving his sentence 5 years of labor, helping to rebuild worlds that the Covenant had damaged. Now he was just another retiree, trying to